I thought I would start cataloging on video for all you guys out there, all you gals out there who think it's not possible to live off grid. I'm gonna give you probably a daily rundown, pieces and parts here and there, to just little tidbits of information, and I'm gonna try to string it all together. But let me give you a little background. My wife and I sold our house, and this might shock some of you, but it's entirely possible. We sold our house and had just enough money left over, just a little bit after we bought this land. So we have 10 acres, almost 10 acres here. Now, this left us in a bind. We really didn't want another house. We didn't want to rent a house. It was just not something we wanted to do, because you're wasting your money on renting a house. We didn't want to buy one for sure, because the real estate market's crazy, and that's why we sold it, actually. So we had enough money to buy this 10 acres and just a little bit left over to survive with. And of course, we're working, we have our own jobs. This 10 acres became my home very fast, because I needed to renovate it. I needed to cut trees down. I needed to have a place to put this tent, which didn't start out that way. This was all brush. You can see back there, that's all it was. It was just brush. We're in Georgia, and so in case you're not familiar with the territories here, it is definitely very thick, jungly. It has got a lot of vinery, so it's hard to break through. And I'll give you a tour once in a while. But that's a little background. So we actually sold our home and bought this land, and I'm living on it, and I'm working on it. I'm learning to survive in ways that I hadn't before. I'm a bit of a survivalist in a way. I'm a former Marine. Plus, I've done a lot of trips to the Appalachian and stayed many nights there. This is a 3-man tent. I'm happy because for the first time in over 3 weeks, I actually am able to spread out. But I've got some photos to show you that I took, so you can see kind of the progression along the way. All right, let's get to it. I'm going to start showing you little things, but first, number one thing. Lotrimin is your friend. All right, especially if you're out here, in Georgia. Now, I don't know about other states exactly how it is, but I can tell you that Lotrimin is your friend, because these bugs will get you. Doesn't matter what you're wearing. All right, next. All right, let's start with power. This is my, this is a lithium battery. It's not cheap. It's about 300 and something bucks, but as you can see, it's got a full charge, and it will keep a full charge forever. That's my fan, my lithium battery powered fan. Of course, my brick to charge. So that's power so far. I've got a few other things on my list, but this right now is temporary. This setup, you'll see it progress as it goes along. Just learned something, and I thought I'd share it with you. Okay, if you want ice and water, which right now I am, you can buy drinkable water, but non-potable water to wash your hands in or wash your dishes in or whatever. That's a little bit harder to come by. I don't have a stream nearby. So last night, just as a side note, I went to get some ice because I wanted to, preserve like orange juice and some other things that I had. Well, I put it in the wrong container. I put it in like a shopping Costco bag kind of thing, which is definitely not the right idea. I woke up this morning and there was water all over my tent. That just wasn't a good idea. So instead, solve two problems at once. Put it in like a Home Depot bucket, right? First of all, it can't leak anywhere. Second of all, when it does finally melt, which it will, you have water. I promise this will improve as time goes on. I got to go to storage and get the camera stand. All right, so we got ourselves a 5x8 trailer here. Very important if you're planning on doing any work at all. If you were wondering how I charge things, that's a 100-watt solar panel right there. It has its own inverter on the back side. If you're wondering what an inverter means, an inverter is nothing more than a place to plug things in. All right, this one I like a lot. I can put a link below. But this is how I'm charging. It looks, solar power is free, all right? Solar power is free. That's how I'm charging my brick. I'll show you around here real quick. There's another one too, by the way. Here we go. This is another one right here. I've got a second one. It's a 60 watt. So it's got 8 panels on it, and it's got its own inverter as well. Sometimes I need both at once. You really don't need much more than that. However, I do have real solar panels that came off of my house when I sold it. So here's the solar panels right there. All right, you can see that's a ton of them. And these are LGs. They are 350 watt. You can see the model number there. I'll leave that below. Those are 375 watts a piece, and I have 29 of them. I'm not going to be short on power. What I'm trying to figure out is how to get them to hook up to that battery. So I'm going to have a little test area here. All right, next video. This is also an inverter. You can buy it at any auto parts store, Amazon, or hardware store. It plugs straight into your vehicle. You're going to need some place to store things. All right, these are things that animals cannot eat. Make sure that you put things in there only that are not edible, that don't attract ants, don't attract bugs. All right. This blue is soap. Dish soap. Really simple, right? What you do is you cover whatever it is you need to clean. I've got distilled water here. It's not necessarily drinkable. You know, well, you might think it's drinkable. I'm a water snob. All right, like that. Put a little in there, like that. That's it. If you're wondering, yes, I do have a generator. All right, I haven't used it yet. It's a gas generator. Now that is important for the guys. It's not what you think it is. It is a urinal. You're gonna need that. Trust me. Okay, during the afternoon I work. I'm not ashamed. That's underwear. All right, that's socks. These are my work pants. Now my work pants are light. They're hiking pants. They do unzip right here at the legs if I want to take the legs off. But I don't, because I'm using a chainsaw and all kinds of stuff fly around and bugs. So what you do is you set this stuff out at night, if it's not raining, of course, but preferably in the morning when you got sunlight, and it's gonna dry it. So you finish your work, you dry your clothes. Even if it's during the afternoon and you want to go out to town or whatever, and then you change your clothes, and by the time you come back, they're dry. And that actually sanitizes them if you stick them in the sun. It sanitizes them enough to go back to work. Water collectors have not been employed yet, just FYI, but they will be in the future. In order to do work, you're gonna have to have tools. In order to have tools, you're gonna need a shed. This is a little thing that I picked up from Amazon several years ago, and I imported it from my house. It's a $200 tarp shed. I think it's about an 8x5, sounds about right. You just roll that up at night. This is a must-have. So anyway, you can see that it's really versatile. You can hang all kinds of stuff in here. I even got a plastic dresser in here to hold tools and stuff that I will use throughout the day. This is your friend. Enough said. You will need some kind of receptacle for your trash. Your refuse has to go into something. That's a 33 gallon. I got it at Dollar General for like 20 bucks. I'm gonna walk you through every little thing I do during the day. That way, you can rest assured that you can do this. It is completely possible to do this. It is going to be off-grid living. I am going to learn how to run an excavator. You're gonna see that. I'm going to learn how to dig my own well. You're gonna see that too. You can find this stuff pretty freely on YouTube, all that stuff. But I'm gonna show you how to survive. That's something maybe you haven't seen. All right, you can see my camp, and it's Camp Dad, okay? So look, man, if a 55-year-old guy can do this, you can do this. Trust me, it's not a big deal. It's your home. This is a home. And this is my garden, okay? So all you got to do is remember that this is my backyard and this is my home. I was living on that 5x8 trailer with a tent on it, and I'll provide pictures of that. But then I upgraded, like I said. So again, this is your home. I don't have an address yet. I have a P.O. box. All right, you can do this. Note on your receptacle. All right, if anybody's been camping before, you know not to leave food of any kind available for raccoons and bears and crap. That's not food, all right? And remember, you cannot put anything that smells like food in there. These logs came from trees that I knocked down. These are mainly small trees. There are some limbs from a bigger tree in there, but these are mainly small logs. What am I gonna do with these? Well, I'm not gonna burn most of them. What I'm gonna do is mostly, you can see just, they're not that big. See what I'm saying? They're just not that big. I'm going to build a latrine, a little outhouse, but I'm gonna need to get some bark shearers and some other such things, and I'm gonna show you how to do that as I learn it. One last thing I should mention before I move on with my day. So you need to be really ultimately organized. You can't be distracted, you need to be focused. You will have a little bit of internet connectivity here because you have a phone, and you can always latch off of that, but you've gotta stay focused. You gotta stay organized. The number one thing is to have a plan. My plan, just so you know, to get past this tent is, number one, I've got to clear, see that pile right there? That pile comes from everywhere, but there's another pile back there. Beyond that pile is where I'm going to be putting a storage unit. Now, I can't do that until I knock the trees down, because you can't knock trees down after you put a storage unit there. So I've got to expand. Number one rule is just start small, and then you got to expand. Well, you have to expand a little bit, piece by piece. You can't build over top of stumps. You got to get your stumps removed. You can't build on ground that's not level. You at least got to level your ground if you're planning on leveling your ground. I can't build and then level my ground. So if I'm planning on leveling my ground, obviously I got to wait. If I'm not planning on leveling it, then you just build something that's level, a platform, which I'm going to do anyway. After that, continuing my plan, after that is done, after I have a storage facility, either it's a tent style like that, or it's a metal storage unit, something to put more tools in, I need a workshop. So it's going to be a big enough place for a workshop. No, I will not go to Home Depot and buy a shed. That's $6,000. You can build it for well under $1,000 if you want to do wood. All right, so continuing on, once I finish that storage unit, and I got my tools here, because everything is in actual storage unit right now that I'm paying for. Once you get into your own storage unit, the tools, then you can start working. Gotta have power, that's what the generator's for. You can start working. Now the work is gonna consist of building. Now that construction, after I've got to, of course, knock down more trees, which is what the excavator is gonna do. I think I'll knock trees down myself, and then use the excavator to bring the roots up. Stumps. But once I clear more land, the next step, since I can't build a house yet, I've got a construction loan under process, understand that, for a main home. During the process of waiting for your main home, you've got to build a tiny home, and it's got to be self-sufficient. It can't rely on the grid. And the reason for that is because you're going to be paying a ton of money to get the water. And here we have to do septic. We can't do, we don't have any sewage. There's no sewer. You're gonna be paying a ton in utility fees. You gotta buy the water meter and all that other stuff. Just drill a well. Just drill a well and get solar. You gotta understand that it's gonna take some time, but anyway, make it self-sufficient. Okay, do your work, stay organized, plan each day out, because you don't want to waste any time or waste any gas. It's a matter of urgency. I'm in the middle of summer right now, but I can tell you that very soon is not going to be summer. It's going to be hurricane season. I've got to have something that is going to sustain winds, and that thing back there probably is not going to do that. And then you've got something that needs to sustain the cold, so something you can insulate. I will be building an outhouse, and I will be building a tiny home for myself. That tiny home for myself will be probably no bigger than a 10 by 20. Not really sure yet, but we do plan on building a log cabin, and we're gonna get there. Right, so this is what I'm talking about. All right, this is, show you the size of this stump. This is one of the larger ones. I cannot dig that out by hand. It would take hours upon hours upon hours of my time. Plus there's a root system here. You can see there's a root system that goes all the way over there. And even if I dig that out, it's just plants are gonna grow all along that root system. It's just gonna regrow. I've had that happen to me before. I've done this. So you've got to, even if you grind them, the root system is still there. So that's what the excavator is for. Believe me, I've never done that before, but I'm going to learn something. Okay, we got all these stumps here. You can see they're everywhere. I cut down all these trees. And even this tiny one right there, you can't really see it. Yeah, it looks like a stick in the ground. That's a stump. We got stumps everywhere. Now I'm going to take you to this pile so you understand how big this is. All right, this pile goes up about 8 feet. It goes around, widen this, it goes around here, all right? And you can see this is not a tiny pile. It goes all the way around, okay? That is the biggest pile I've made so far. There's 2 piles over there. You can see behind the truck there and behind the tent. So I've got 2 piles there, and then over here, I'm unfortunately creating another pile, and I've decided that I'm going to take this area back here that's got so much just crap. It's weeds and vines, and I'm going to make that into another burn pile. Of course, you don't burn the big pile. You remove things from it and then burn into a consolidated area. This tree I just took down. This is a very big log I got to move. So again, I can't remove stumps like that by hand. It's just too much. So you can see where, oh man. Yeah, so anyway, this tree I knocked down is a big disaster. If you're here in Georgia, if you're not familiar with Georgia, I should say, this is what I'm talking about. It's a mess. It's a disaster. These are all vines. There's just vines all through this thing, and it's like all knotted up. It's not a normal tree that you can just cut down. So you get the idea. It's just gonna take a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of planning. But your area is gonna be different than mine. So you're gonna need tools. I'll give you some insights on the particular tools you're gonna need to cut down trees. All right, that's enough for that. You will want a couple of those, preferably lithium charged. It is time for breakfast. Ordinarily, I go to Waffle House, but now I think I'm starting to settle in a little bit. I can tell you this, there is nothing like waking up in the morning to the sunrise every day and going to bed at night to the critters, the joy. Okay, time to go to town, take care of some business. You might have a different situation, but I'm not worried about securing anything here. I'm kind of out in the middle of nowhere. I do have that sign there, it says private property. I have another sign somewhere else that says, you know, being video monitored at all times. There are deer hunting cameras that you can get. I don't have one. I'm just lying. That's just to prevent anybody who wanders through here for whatever reason to think twice. But really, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. But make sure you secure your property appropriately. If you want a little air conditioning, another thing I should mention is that you do want to be secure in as many ways as you can think of. I don't know what's out here. That's a bayonet. I don't know what's out here. I do hear wolves, coyotes once in a while. Not wolves, coyotes. But, you know, in your area, you need to be wise and consider wildlife and human wildlife as well. So, again, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, but I'm just a little paranoid, so I'm always secure. That's right, baby. Freedom Lane. All right, so I'm heading into town because I got a few things to do before I start work today. Usually I start physical labor early in the morning, but it is HOT today. It is already in the 90s. Well, nah, not quite. It's getting there, but it's gonna be. It's already freaking hot. So I decided to run my errands instead. I'll go out and sweat my butt off before I've got to teach tonight because I got to go to class. I teach martial arts. But this is first errand is today going to O'Reilly's because I got to go get a 6-gauge wire for that battery terminal that I showed you. And then I got to go do a Home Depot run, and then probably one or two other things. I might go to my storage unit and retrieve some things, but that's a long trip. Alrighty, so if you've ever read or seen Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you know what the number one rule is, right? Always carry a towel. So apparently it's going to be 94 degrees today. I may or may not be getting to cutting those limbs off that tree. Damn. These things are great. These cool off when you get hot. You just put water on them. Now it looks to me like I'm in a kind of a bind today. I'm gonna show you what I got. Order some parts because this is 10-gauge wire. This is 4-gauge wire to go. This goes between there and there because of amperage. This goes between what's called the solar charge controller and the solar panel. Now, like I said, I have 29 of those things. But one of the problems I'm running into is, first of all, I think this is a piece of junk. I bought it for like 25 bucks. It's probably crap. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. I did plug it directly into the solar panel and it's just giving me crap, but I plugged it in through here, that DC inlet. But this right here, as you can see, is where it's supposed to plug into, and I just ordered the wrong part. That's all. I got a part here that is, it's just the wrong connector right there. And so that connector doesn't connect to anything in that box. So it's just too bad. It didn't work. So I'll show you what the connectors are over here. So I have to reorder some parts and I'll splice it myself. This thing has a whole bunch of connectors right here because I got an adapter. Okay, get a whole bunch of connectors. Not one of them is the correct one. Don't know why I did that. So what I'm doing over here is I'm connecting, I'm getting this. I took the alligator clips off because it's dangerous for that. So that way this just goes straight there. This is the inverter. Okay, the inverter is what you plug things into. It's only a 750 watt inverter. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish splicing this side, put these lugs on, and then I'll be done. Okay, it's my first setup. This is just from the battery to the inverter. This is to make it more permanent. I'm going to, of course, screw this down to this board. That's the objective. I do eventually want to have longer cables. This is only temporary. I went to O'Reilly and had them cut this one because they can just cut it. And you can also go to Home Depot and they can cut that too. It's 4-gauge. You gotta have 4-gauge from here to here. You gotta know your math. You gotta know why that is. Volts, amperage, watts, volts and amperage. The amperage particularly determines which gauge wire you're getting. I could have gotten away with a 6-gauge, but this will last me up to 15 feet if I do that gauge. So here we go. So we're connected to this guy. He's on. It's not showing any status really. I mean, I don't know why, but I've got it plugged into this Craftsman battery, which is a need I have is to charge that. And here it turns on. Now the problem is I don't have any way to, I don't know how much charge there is in here. Oh, look at that. Okay, so that's telling me how much, that's power output. So I'm not outputting very much power at all. So I ordered a battery monitor. It's gonna go between here and here. And it's going to be a Bluetooth monitor, and it'll be on my phone, and I could tell it's cheap, and I'm not worried about it, like 13 bucks. So the problem is I don't know how much juice is in here, and I don't want to necessarily run that too much because it's my only juice right now, and I have no way to connect it to that. Unless I connect it directly, and I don't want to do that because that's kind of dangerous. All right, and there you go. Oh, first of all, when you do this, you make sure you're doing what I did. I crimped them really tight. And you got to make sure you tape them. Always be careful with these electronics, all right? Okay. It is reading. I got a very short 1 foot cable going to the input right there. Like I said, it's a very short reading. I'm not sure about how to use this yet. So that's got a 36 degrees Celsius. I don't do Celsius. So this is, there's no PV in. There's no PV, of course, means photovoltaic. So there's no PV, but apparently it's got a reading on the battery, which is great. Now this also has, see that light bulb right there? That light bulb right there is telling me that I could just plug something directly into that. And I don't plan on doing that. Not right now. But I've got all kind of stuff to put in here, fuses on the way, and switches, and all. This is just a basic setup to make sure that this thing operates. All right, I'm gonna get a longer cable. Mention, make sure you always purchase the right gauge for what you're doing. I've got 10 gauge cable. The math, again, matters, okay? Proof of concept achieved. This is the photovoltaic volt. So I've got it plugged into that DC in, and it goes to there, and it goes to there. So we are currently charging. We have free energy. It's just a proof of concept right now. Time for all the pieces and parts to come in later. Okay, I moved it to some direct sun, and now I'm getting 7 amps in. As you can see, it's really bright right there. Of course, the sun moves, so I got to figure this out as I learn the best place to put any of these solar panels. So it's charging. I just don't know, the charge level. You don't want to go through that much trouble. Get yourself this little rock pallet here, and that'll be all you need. Now he's down to 10%, but it takes those inputs right there, has those outputs, and those outputs. Very cool. Not expensive. Plugs right into your solar panel.